TikTok, what's up? This is Lebanon Correctional Part 4, War Stories Edition, Part 2. First, let me say I appreciate y'all. Anybody who's been anticipating these videos, that's cool as shit, that people want to take the time to see these. I actually get multiple comments from people asking to do the next part. I'm going to give y'all some details to make you feel like you're there, try to make these stories as good as I can. Also, there was 2 small details that I gotta fix from last time because I was just rushing, but I remembered. You only get 10 minutes though to make these. So it wasn't a jack, it was a SIM card 2-1, and it was in dude's winter hat. Also, it was a Summit City Royal homie, but it's all the same thing. Same with La Raza's, everything, our program run together. So anyways, we had the alliance with the KF. So at this point, we had our numbers up. Like, we just had what I just said, GD's, Summit City Royals, La Raza's, fall as one. And then you had KFs with us too. Mandatory workouts, running around, doing this, doing that, going to chow. We was even locking up, doing our handshake together, which I've never heard of that before this, but we would do it exactly the same. They would change the end part to a K, which would line up with our staff. So it was something we had going on. But anyways, okay, so dude was living with KF in H. Henry. And I was in E. Edward. My bunkie was Mikey from Columbus, who was a KF. Cool ass dude. I need to try to get a hold of him. He's a younger cat. He's probably like maybe 28 to 30 right now. Doing 15 flat for unaliving somebody who snatched some white girl out of his hand. He, pow. He got him. They pushed him out the car, his own homies. They said he ran up and took a photo of him or some shit. I don't know if that's true. And then he obviously got caught. But because of the circumstances, how young he was, and because of what they was doing to him, I guess he was able to take that and run with it and got 15 flat. If anybody knows who he is, though, I really want to get a hold of him. I want to bless him, and I want to just get in touch with him. I was telling you that to say, like, I know what it feels like to live with somebody who you're having an alliance with, and then this shit happened. Same thing was going on, though, with them. He thought his bunkie took the thing. Okay, so when the SIM card, and when he told everybody, they're like, that's crazy because we got an alliance with them. It doesn't make sense. But everybody doing their homework and doing the math, the higher-ups, they came to a conclusion. They think this shit was true. They fought a couple times, but obviously it was still serious enough because he was a somebody and they didn't like this shit. So they said at 7 a.m. tomorrow, everybody's lining up the whole compound. We had to have enough time to get it across the compound before it could happen. So this was like afternoon, and then by the time the night was up, every block had got word. Between chows, yard movement, and peel call, they made sure that they got that shit done. So we would usually go to the third chow hall. Like I said, it was our mandatory one. And I think theirs was the first or the second, but that kind of plays into what I'm gonna say this. TYG from Cincinnati, I was close with him. He at one point was our block coordinator, and he was like, he just thought it would be funny to try to mind fuck them and go in their chow hall when this happened. We was just real close with all these people last night, but remember, in prison, no matter what, even when you got shit like this going on or your best friend, it's always snakes in the grass. Everybody's still always on guard because shit could change overnight, which it did. So we usually move as one, where we would all get in a group, kind of like crouch a little bit and walk, but you're in like a motion and you're not stepping on each other's feet. At least you're not supposed to be. But damn near, it's like everybody's moving like a well-oiled machine, and it's intimidating because everyone's walking with barely any room between them, and you're not tripping. And it's like you just vibe off each other and you walk, and then when other COs and inmates see you, you look like you done formed a damn transformer or something. And it's just a thing that most organizations do at LIB with movement. Well, on this day, we was going to chow, and at the last second he said that, fuck it, we're gonna abandon our post, and because we were all together anyways, and he's like, we're gonna go in here. So we sit down and take up like 3 or 4 tables. They sit down and take up their 3 or 4 tables. Awkward as fuck. Somebody said, like, this is our last supper, y'all. Everybody starts laughing and shit, but I don't care who you are. We all had that nervousness, butterfly, knowing what you're about to go do. Even if you ain't scared to fight, you still get that in you. Your stomach starts twisting, your adrenaline. That's just normal human behavior. So we're heading back and shit. Someone stops and tells the CO, 2 COs, and we was lucky the 2 African dudes wasn't working. We got these 2 dudes from over in Africa who came over here as citizens, and they could barely speak English. I mean, one of them was all right, the other one was a dick, but it was crazy how they could barely speak English, and they were our regulars at one time. Well, he ends up telling them, hey, so one gets on his phone, one gets on the newspaper, but these are not our regulars, they're like off-brands, they call it, and the generics. So they don't care what's going on, but they know what's about to happen. So we sit in them tables in the day room. Now, I already showed y'all before in the one video that there was a banging cell way in the back, and it was John from Columbus, who was a KF. People used to use his room because it's in the blind spot, it's in the corner, far from the COs. They would move the TV and go in there and fight. Well, how a lineup works is everybody sits at them tables, and you don't talk or nothing, and your head and their head will point at somebody and say you, and then he'll say you. Y'all just look at each other like, all right, you go in there for a minute, and you just rumble. And when they knock like that, it means to stop. Sometimes they'll do like some cool shit and you'll be in there for 65, 70 seconds instead, but it ain't really that big a deal. Time moves different anyways. It feels like 2-3 minutes is the whole point of what I'm saying. When you're in there fighting, as you guys are in there, thumping and you trying to whatever, get this shit done, you feel like, damn, I know it's been a minute. But then your own guys will corroborate and tell you like, no, they only kept you in there for 5 seconds longer. You know what I mean? Shit like that. Well, while this is taking place, we're all sitting there, and as time, but I left out. This wasn't during the day room. Yeah, this was right from breakfast. So if you've been at Leb, sometimes you get like an extra 20 minutes to not until your day room starts. Like they'll start a day room within like maybe 40 minutes to an hour of breakfast, but not always. You got to get 2 to 3 hours of day room time and 2 to 3 hours of yard time if everything runs smoothly. The rest of the time you're in your cell, besides your movements like chow, pill call, program, shit like that. But for real, instead of everybody waiting until day room or yard, it was like everybody wanted to get this shit over with. So that's why they said 7 a.m. Well, what was crazy was we were knowing at this exact point every other block was doing this exact same thing in their blocks. They all picked their own certain cell to line up and do the same shit. But I'm sitting there wondering like why they ain't pick me, and I didn't realize it yet that they didn't pick my bunkie either. But I wasn't worried about their side, I was worried about mine. And I'm seeing, knowing we're about to be locking down, and I wasn't sure what was going on. But you're not supposed to talk during this at all. Like if they want you to go in there, they're gonna tell you, trust me. Well, during that time period, it makes sense because when we're all being told to go back to our cells, TYG and Yuckmouth and 2-6 and a whole bunch of other people said, hey, we all agreed it would make sense for you and Mikey to just fight, and we're gonna have one of each of our guys come watch you in the window real quick. And we're like, what the fuck? We just look at each other. It's some cruel shit that goes on within the organizational world. I don't know whose idea that was, but once the idea was proposed, everybody else kind of like agreed and just fell in line. It was almost like they thought it would be funny because they knew how close we were. Like we was close before the alliance, and that just made it even cooler that our gangs had an alliance, our organizations had an alliance. So I'm sitting there like, damn, but yeah, they did that. And they didn't mean like when you go lock down, they wanted somebody to come watch, which they did. They stood, his best friend, one of his brothers, Corey, his name was Corey, a bald-headed dude. He come and watched and peeked in. But when it was all said and done of our 60 seconds, they said for one, they only made us do like 50 seconds, was what they claimed. And then when it was all said and done, we both admitted that we did not give it 100% to our all. And we each only had like lumps on our heads, and we were just slamming each other and making a bunch of noise. Like, I'm not saying we faked the fight because they watched it, but what we did was we locked up, slammed each other around, and hit each other on the head as hard as we could. But we tried. He admitted that he purposely didn't hit me in the face, and I said the same thing. It was just respect. We was on the same wavelength. That was my guy. And then we laughed about it and we played games and went to sleep.